Let's talk now to Robert Geller, who's Professor Emeritus of Seismology at the University of Tokyo. Welcome to the programme, Professor. So you're based in Tokyo, which I gather is around 350 kilometres away from the epicentre. What did you feel when this earthquake happened?
Well, there was a very small amount of shaking in Tokyo, but there were also emergency warning notices on TV.
And Japan, of course, no stranger to earthquakes, sadly. How does this major one compare to previous ones the country's experienced?
Well, there are basically two categories of earthquakes. One are the really big ones that are off the Pacific coast, like the one in 2011. And then the other category are earthquakes that are either underneath Japan or right offshore, like the one in Kobe in 1995 or the one today. So the one today was much smaller in terms of magnitude, but it was very, very close to the coast. So for the magnitude, it packed a lot of punch in causing damage and in generating a large tsunami.
And of course, you mentioned the tsunami warning. What other knock-on effects might there be from this series of earthquakes?
Well, I don't want to be alarmist, but there's a very, very small chance, let's say maybe 1 or 2%, that there could be an even bigger earthquake in the next few days. And if that happened, it could cause a lot of damage. It's certain there will be aftershocks, but maybe it's 98 or 99% likely the aftershocks will all be smaller than the earthquake today. But they still have the capability to demolish buildings that have already been damaged.
And we know, of course, that Japan is very well prepared for earthquakes, being sadly used to them, both in terms of the way buildings are constructed and also the warnings, like the ones that you mentioned. How might all of that have helped in this situation?
Well, the main thing is that if buildings are damaged, but they don't actually collapse, the people who live in them will be safe. So there were a few single family residences that collapsed. And as far as I know, the people were evacuated from those collapsed structures. But it's still early. So tomorrow or the day after, there may be some further reports of people who were not evacuated from collapsed buildings in time. We don't know. We don't know yet.
So you say there could potentially be another big earthquake, certainly aftershocks. What is the government doing, and what could be being done to help protect people from those?
Well, the main thing that's being done is building safety and fire safety, and a reasonable but not 100% perfect job has been done. That earthquakes don't kill people. The collapse of buildings kill the people inside. And the other thing is, like in 2011, the tsunami killed maybe 20,000 people or so by washing them away. So the tsunami evacuation warning was largely successful, I think.
And what is it about Japan that makes it so susceptible to these major kind of earthquakes?
Well, in terms of geology, the theory of plate tectonics says the Earth's surface is divided into 10 or so major plates that move apart or come together. And Japan sits right on top of the junction of 4 different plates, which are sliding together. So when they slide together, there's a lot of stress built up that gets released in the form of earthquakes. So because of Japan's geological location, earthquakes are unavoidable.
So we are still perhaps in the initial phases after this earthquake when it comes to thinking about what happens next. But what kind of resources are needed when it comes to mitigating disasters like this?
Well, the main thing is to have safe buildings, and in the case of buildings that collapse, to mobilize relief forces very quickly to pull the people out of the buildings before it's too late. There's like a 48-hour window or so that if you can get the people out by then, you can save most of them. Then the other thing is to put out fires as quickly as possible. There were some fires, not too bad, and I hope they get put out as quickly as possible. So the fire and police and also the Japan self-defense forces are mobilizing very rapidly to bring relief to the affected areas.